Marvel Zombies, a show that I've been looking forward to for a while now. As y'all know, horror is in my bag and we right around the corner to Halloween. So a show with one of my more favorite runs in Marvel Comics dropping that is supposed to be horror inspired and really gory and introduce a lot of dope characters is a show that I had to watch. So what are my thoughts on it? Stick around and find out. Roll the intro.
You're now watching The Captain.
So first off with Marvel Zombies, I'm really surprised that this is only 4 episodes long. I assumed that we're at bare minimum going to get maybe 8 to maybe 10, maybe 12 episodes, but the fact that they were able to cram so much story and so much into 4 episodes was really amazing to me. The second reason why I love this show so much is the fact that it included characters that were in the proverbial shadow realm for the while in the MCU, where we didn't really hear from them or even know what the fuck they were doing within the universe. Shang-Chi being the biggest one, because ever since his movie, I feel like I have not heard or seen anything really involving him outside of the Abomination being a character that was coming around the pipeline. We haven't seen anything from Kate Bishop since the Hawkeye show, and for sure have not seen too much from characters like Riri Williams or Kamala Khan since they got their introductory things. Granted, Kamala got her movie with the combination of the Marvels, but I feel like since then we haven't gotten a lot, especially with the whole aspect of her being a mutant kind of arising and that being a whole big thing that's coming later on with the Doomsday and other big movies we have coming down the line. But looking at this show, the fact that they took all these characters who were essentially not really utilized that often showed them being very unified, I guess is the word for it. These characters have a lot of great relationships with one another that I thought was very interesting. The big trio that I loved the most though were the trio of a Riri Williams, a Kate Bishop, and a Kamala Khan. Those 3 together were amazing. They had amazing chemistry, and the factor that all these characters within this series were all voiced by their actual actors gave me even more excitement to know that they're gonna have some form of chemistry together. I'm not sure if they all recorded their lines within the same room during this series, but it really feels like they had some kind of a bond there, and I'm really excited to see what that looks like on the silver screen when we get bigger projects or maybe even a movie. Or not a movie, but even a show. And if anything else, this show really showcased how important it is going to be for Marvel to push their young Avengers going forward. Obviously, you've kind of been really leaning on the morals of a lot of the older, bigger names you've had in the MCU for a while now, being like a Thor, an Iron Man, and Captain America. You haven't really tried to phase in too many of the younger heroes or the newer heroes you've established, which is even crazier because you're constantly bringing in new heroes. We just got a whole new character in Wiccan, and we're about to get his brother soon within the world after seeing Agatha all along. We already have Kate Bishop, Kamala Khan, and Riri Williams introduced. We've been introduced to, I think somebody's gonna come around later on, being Patriot, being Isaiah Bradley's grandson. We essentially have a lot of the young Avengers, and there's even more to come that I think we've been announced already. It was probably somewhere after the Incredible Hulk stuff is gonna happen around with the Spider-Man film. So there's gonna be a lot of characters who can be in this young Avengers team that have already either been introduced or have been rumored to be introduced in later things. So really putting them at the forefront as some of this stuff is going to be really important if you want these characters to catch on. Because I think part of the reason why a lot of these characters aren't getting the same attention or the love that a lot of the other characters got is that you didn't take your time to build them up and put them in front of people. Again, for people that are, been around for a while, been fans of comic books for a while, you understand that the Avengers originally in the comics were put together because they were all C to B tier characters, maybe even D tier for certain characters like maybe a Black Widow, that people didn't really read or didn't really enjoy. So you put them in this big conglomerate of a story and had them do big things together so that you could possibly drum up some more care and love for these characters. And it was kind of a similar thing within the MCU in itself. A lot of the bigger characters had been sold off to Fox, like the X-Men or Spider-Man had been gone, and you can't really do too much with them or the Fantastic Four. So okay, let's lean on what we do have. And what they did have was a bunch of characters who were C-tier characters. And again, remembering that even Iron Man, when his movie first came out, a lot of people didn't even know that he wasn't a robot. The fact we have all these characters who are smaller in popularity and you were able to build them out to be some of the most infamous characters within pop culture in general, you should be able to do something similar, at least to a 10th% level of what you did with them to someone like the Young Avengers. You have this team of young heroes who have really quirky abilities and really fun abilities, and obviously through a show like this showcase that they have, you can write them to have a really tight bond and be a family in a similar sense that the Guardians of the Galaxy did. So I want to see more of that going forward and see them really pushed and promoted more in actual live action stuff, not just in this one-off animated series stuff. Although this was good, I need to see them pushed in live action. But a big thing outside of the Young Avengers that I mentioned was the whole aspect that this show show is able to be a variant universe of the main MCU, which means you're able to do something that you're not able to do in other MCU movies, is kill a bunch of heroes off and let them stay dead. The fact that you're going into this series and a lot of the mainline Avengers are already dead, like Iron Man, Captain America, all those characters, they're dead and gone. The fact that they're dead and gone means you have to rely on a lot of these side tier, B tier characters that aren't really pushed that often. Like I already mentioned before and gave into my whole spiel of how they need to be pushed, which is still really a thing, but because you're able to utilize the main tier characters as dead zombies and that still would pertain some of their strength, it's really able to have you do matchups and really showcase how capable these young Avengers or this young team of heroes actually are. You're able to see how somebody like a Kamala Khan or Red Guardian or Shang-Chi is able to really stand up to fighting a character like a Namor or dealing with a half-corpsed Captain America or things of that nature. You're able to see where they stand in some of these characters' eyes. Obviously, it's very limited because they're zombies and they're not at their 100% full capacity as they would be when they were alive, but they also have some benefits that them being dead don't really show in them being alive, like the fact they have like unlimited stamina or the fact that they really can't be hurt for the most part. They don't feel pain. They just undead. I really love that aspect, and this show also does a good job at going back into a lot of the darkness that we already been seeing with somebody like a Wanda Maximoff, a character who we saw go into some dark stuff when you're looking at the Multiverse of Madness, but it kind of took that and that version of her but kind of continued it, but let her be a zombie for the most part, which has me really curious if they're going to kind of play into any of that when she makes her reappearance within the MCU proper, because for the most part she should be dead, or it's alluded to that she's dead, but if she's a zombie maybe, or if she's just alive, I don't know. It'd be cool to see what they do with her, if they like maybe take some aspects of this show and move that into the mainline MCU with some of these characters. Outside of what they did with the Young Avengers and outside of the ability to kill people off in this, what I really love is the presentation and the writing that some of this stuff takes, and the fact that they use these characters in a very interesting way in regards to the world that they're in. I think something cool and minute, like Shang-Chi having one arm being zombie possessed, but the ring stopping that, is something that's cool and something that you can use later on within bigger MCU stuff. I think having characters like a Kamala Khan really being able to be on the upper echelons of strength within the MCU is something that is really cool to see. And again, outside of the Young Avengers being pushed in this, outside of the fact that characters can be killed in this, it's also introducing a very, very special character within this series, being that of Blade, but not just any old regular Blade, being Moon Knight hosted Blade. This is a version of Blade that I don't think we've ever seen before in Marvel Comics. Y'all let me know in the comment section below if you can think back to a comic issue or a side run or a what if story where this is a thing, but Blade being the host of Khonshu and being a Moon Knight essentially is something that I never thought I needed until I saw it, and it's something that I kind of want to see more comic book stuff now and be like more what if instances, but it just feels like the perfect blend of power sets and just thematically speaking, it's just great to see. The fact that you have the Daywalker, a vampire who is traditionally killing vampires who operate in moonlight, now he essentially has the power of the moon god. It's just cool to see. And the way that Blade was depicted in this was very so badass and really gives me a lot of hope that we're going to see Mahershala Ali do some badass stuff within his live action Blade movie. And also I think this kind of confirms the fact that Blade is coming to the MCU. This show, in my opinion, is one that is not anything to write home about. I think it's great and I think it's fun, and it was a really great watch for a 4-episode series, but I don't think it does anything groundbreakingly new or different that really makes me want to give it like a perfect 10 out of 10. I thought it was really solid. I thought I really enjoyed this thing. I enjoyed the horror vibes and the atmosphere of it, and I enjoyed the factor that so many side characters were used. Outside of the ones that I mentioned before, using Okoye as like the leader of the Scions for the most part was something that I thought was cool and showing how capable she was, as well as other characters. And I thought it was really cool for us to get introduced and get more of an interaction with certain people within this universe, like a Nova Corps, a Corps that we've only seen in brief stints here and there within the Guardians of the Galaxy stuff that they had going on. This was like a bigger look at like who the Nova Corps are and kind of like what their deal is. Again, this show just does an amazing job of using the leftover pieces of the MCU to make a really good product, and it's something that I really hope we get to see a lot more of going into the future. I don't know if we're gonna get another season of this show in particular, but I would love to just see more like little one-off spin-off series, because I do feel like Marvel kind of got the memo when DC announced that they're gonna do a lot of Elseworld stuff. And I think maybe Marvel, got a little scared when they heard about all the new stuff that DC was going to be doing and how they're going to be looking at doing things that are even outside of the normal things that they would normally do in regards to horror stuff with a Clayface and Mike Flanagan writing that, or even some of the stuff with the Authority coming around the way, or even things that we've seen with Preacher Commandos. DC is looking at doing a lot more random stuff and also having a lot more Elseworld movies that can come out that won't necessarily be connected to their mainline timeline. So you can just tell great stories like the stories you told with Marvel Zombies, but have it not be something that is really overly thought about because you don't have to match continuity from a movie 10 years ago. And again, it's something that I really just hope we get a lot more of. As a comic book fan, there are so many what if stories that I would love to see told on the silver screen that I think would just be unique and fun for people to see. Like something like Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe has to be something on the minds of a Kevin Feige at some point down the line, especially when you introduce him into the mainline Marvel Universe where he can just go around and kill all the popular characters that we have already seen. And for the most part, it's something we kind of saw in the third Deadpool movie, but again, more of a direct thing of him killing everybody would be cool to see. My thoughts on Marvel Zombies, I'd probably give this thing like a solid like 8.5 maybe out of 10. Really enjoyed the characters that were portrayed, really enjoyed seeing what is to come and what the future of the MCU possibly has to offer with a lot of these characters, as well as this being cool to see this world being built up and showcasing all this dark horror things where I got to see people get their hearts ripped out their chest, seeing people get obliterated with laser. It's just fun to see. So again, you guys let me know in the comment section below how you felt about Marvel Zombies, and do you want to see another season, or again, are you excited to see any of these side characters that were put in the mainline MCU going forward? Again, this has been Captain Diesel of Captain Diesel's Dojo, and remember, forever and always,
You're now watching the Captain.
and I will see you guys next time. Peace. Be good people.